When one speaks of a monster put together from the scraps of other things, usually what first comes to mind is the monster of Mary Shelley's novel, created by the eponymous Dr. Frankenstein. It is a story of hateful persecution of a creation that hates its creator and seeks to torment him for bringing it into a world that rejects it. Their long-spanning feud comes to a close in the frozen Arctic, where only death can bring the conflict to an end. Unbeknownst to Mary Shelley, however, the peoples of Greenland would not find her tale original or even odd. For time immemorial they have told tales of a similar monster made from dead things and infused with hatred. They call it Tupilaq. The most interesting aspect of the Tupilaq as a monster is that foreigners would have never known what it was if it were not for the Inuit stories. Most monsters survive the cultures that birthed them through their depiction in carved statues, scrolls, or tapestry, while the peoples of the Arctic did not write. For most of their history, they also did not carve depictions of the Tupilaq until they were asked to do so by these foreigners who were not familiar with the monster and wanted to better understand it. The reason the Inuit did not have any depictions of the Tupilaq is because it was moot. In a way, Tupilaq were already something that was made. And like many historical relics, the unfortunate fact that they were made from perishable materials made it so that despite there being many carvings made from animal tusks, we have no known actual Tupilaq preserved in museums nowadays. But there is another reason. Tupilaq the Tupilaq is a monster made in secret. In fact, the secretive nature of this monster seems to be one of the things that gives it power for the ritual. One must find a secluded place and gather the materials. These are usually animal parts for bones, but some tales speak of human bones being used for the dark ritual, and the bodies of dead children being particularly effective. Once the preparations are complete, one is to wear their anorak backwards, and as they chant, and become intimate with the material components of the creature. The ritual will slowly take place over the course of several days, and as the creatures bound together, it needs to be submerged underwater. Only there will it eventually awaken. The word Tupilaq seems to be a stand-in for demon or evil spirit. Some descriptions even seem to describe it as a sort of beast. As it varies from culture to culture, we have chosen to focus on the most known depiction of the Tupilaq, which is the one of the peoples living in Greenland. And if we follow that description, the Tupilaq seems to be a sort of undead or demon possessing a corpse. While it's not clear what it was in terms of nature, what is clear is that this monster belongs in the domain of the never-human, unlike Frankenstein's monster. The Tupilaq has no interest in human matters. It exists to follow one simple directive: kill the enemy of your creator. Like voodoo dolls of West Africa and Caribbean folklore, the Tupilaq seems to require something from the victim in order to better pursue them, like a lock of hair or clipped nails. But unlike the voodoo dolls, which require action from the sorcerer to inflict pain on the victim, the dark magic that makes the Tupilaq come to life once it enters the water seems to propel it to hunt for its prey. As long as one performs the ritual correctly and places the resulting Tupak in open water, it should find and hunt down whoever was named. There is, however, a caveat: magic moves the Tupilaq, and magic may stop it. One targets someone capable of magic, like an Anga cook the yin with equivalent of a shaman. Then the Tupilaq's wrath may be prevented. The same can happen if the one targeted is capable of summoning and even mightier than Tupilaq to ward it off. It is feared because it is a ferocious hunter, but what makes it such a terrifying monster is that if it has somehow stopped it, it will not end there. Instead, it will turn its murderous intent elsewhere, more specifically towards the one who created it. If this were to happen, and when we're lucky enough to find out that their plan has gone awry and that their creation comes for them, there is only one way to save yourself, and that is a public confession. This may seem easy enough, but one must consider the situation at hand. For starters, most of the people living in Greenland are usually very tight-knit, mutually dependent communities in the hostile Arctic. Nothing grows, and depending on one another, is how the Inuit would have survived for millennia. This has led to a general predisposition for openness and truthfulness, and in turn made secrecy into something that can have negative consequences, often of a magical nature. To have a secret then is already not a good thing. Imagine if this secret in question is that an individual willingly performed a forbidden ritual, like the one that summons a Tupilak. The public confession may save them from the creature, but their actions constitute a crime, so fundamentally unforgivable, that even if they are not killed by the Tupilak, it is unlikely that the village would ever continue to accept them as one of their own in exile. In the frozen north, this is not too far from the death Frankenstein's monster finds with no solace. In his creator's death, it realizes that none will ever know it as well as its creator did. And with his death, all the crimes of the creature committed to try and force its creator to accept it and make a place for it in the world become unjustified. For Victor Frankenstein did not want to bring a monster into the world, and once he did, he lived only to undo the error that he had committed. But Tupilak is made into being by violent tensions and a horrifying conscious choice. It is born out of the violation of the peaceful remains of dead animals and children. It is told before anything else that its purpose is to kill, which it will do. If it does, then the dark deed is finished and it can rest. But one has to wonder, could it be that when the Tupilak is refuted by a mightier shaman and turned back onto its creator, it swims faster? Does it hunt with more vigor? Does it feel joy for the one that forced it into its wretched, horrifying existence? Will either die, and with his death pay for his sins? Or he will confess, and in so doing reveal to the world the secret of his crime and the cruelty of his choice? He asked. Tupilak has denied its kill, but it will fade back into peace the innocent components that make it now spared from the taint of murder and vindicated by truth. Surely, there must be a certain solace in that.